Hello everyone, this is Bob and Threadbare, and welcome back to the Human Revolution. Ah, crap, that was supposed to be cut out. Whatever.
I can't land at HQ. A riot's broken out. Boss says to drop you at your apartment.
I could use a shower.
You'll have to make it quick. He's on his way to meet you.
Today is actually going to be a fairly talk-heavy episode. Just, fair warning. I don't think I use a gun in this entire video. But hey, this is our first hub revisit. Time to see what's changed. Also, this is the apartment rooftop that we couldn't access before because the elevator was out of order. Well, it goes exclusively to the roof and... Yep, it just pops out eventually. But yeah, there's a separate elevator that goes directly to the roof for some reason. And, it was out of order, so we couldn't use it. But now we're up here, so obviously it works. Interesting how they've got these little crawl spaces, but there's nothing up here to actually pick up. I don't know. Bit of a mixed message. Or maybe it's just reused assets from a part of the map that actually, where stuff like that would actually matter.
Mr. Jensen, we've been expecting you. Mr. Seraph went to your apartment. He's not very happy about something. A ride like this can't be good for business, but I'm sure he'll fill you in.
Everything's quiet here, Mr. Jensen. Nothing to worry about. Last I heard, headquarters was under control too. At least inside, anyway. No way to get in there until the mob is cleared, though.
Mr. Jensen, sure is good to see you. Mr. Seraph assigned us to watch the building. Lots of Seraph employees here. Just want to make sure there's no trouble.
Well, that's good. And hey, I can see the building from here.
Hey, Mr. Jensen. What a night, huh? I made the rounds. Some punks tried to tag the building, but no major damage. Figures that I would take over the night shift and this happens. Hope Sherry got home okay,
Now,
though.
before we get in touch with some of our attachés out in Australia, I have to reiterate some things. We're talking augmentations, and how by not allowing us to have them, they are essentially stripping our ability to defend ourselves away from us. Now, followers, don't stream me now and start saying, "But Lazarus, augmentations are legal. Why, my cousin Tootie just got one the other day." Not for long, fucknob. Not if this UN
Fucknob.
goes through. Not with the Bilderbergs, the Council of Five, and the Trilateral Commission making the rules. You can add Humanity Front to that list.
Council of Five. I don't think I ever covered that one.
Hey Adam, glad you could join us, although there's not much going on here. The rest of the team is at headquarters. They've locked it in so that no one can get in and cause trouble.
Speaking of cause trouble, notice I have access to all of my weapons this time. Roof sure is high up there, isn't it? Yep. Ah, finally. The one real floor in this whole building.
Welcome home, Mr. Jensen. You have new messages.
Apparently that's not all I have. Make yourself at home, boss.
It's a fucking mess out there, Adam. You seen the news? Picus is telling everyone we're breeding super soldiers. Taggart's at the convention center right now, urging the UN to investigate.
Is it true?
Of course not.
Except for the Typhoon, right? And a few of those defense contracts.
What?
Oh, and let's not forget the fact that Megan's team was kidnapped right before her research went public. How do you explain that one, boss?
I wanted people to see that research. Megan was on the brink of something historic. Something that would have catapulted this company to the top of the Fortune 500. Her kidnappers knew it. They knew exactly where her research would take us. And they refused to let anyone else have that much power.
Anyone else? Eliza was right. You do know more than you've told me.
I suspected. But these people? They're like ghosts. Always in the shadows. Always hiding behind lies and proxies.
Who are they?
A name won't mean much. They'll use whatever one suits their interests. Sometimes it's the Masons. Sometimes the Bilderberg Group. They've had a finger in every corporation, organization, or government initiative that's defined modern society.
You're talking about... the Illuminati?
It's no joke. They're organized and they operate over and above society.
You're serious? So why would the Illuminati kidnap Megan's team?
I already told you. Megan found a way to make augmentation safer for all of us, so we can all become like you.
Like me?
Like... you are. More than human. We've got to get him back, Adam.
You said Taggart is speaking at the convention center right now?
Bitch even sent me an invite.
His aide, Sandoval, is neck deep in this.
I don't know where Sandoval is, but Taggart will. Adam, you've got to handle this delicately. We don't know Taggart is involved, and we can't afford another punch in the face. I'm trusting you with this one.
Oh, all right then. I guess that gives us a destination, at least. But how did all of these boxes get back here? Oh, crap. I was gonna watch the news on that, too. Well, anyway, aside from the boxes, nothing's really changed here. The combat rifles are still around because I never picked them up in the first place. This is still unlocked. The secret stash still has all of the weapons missing, because I took them. And actually what's true in here is pretty much true for the rest of the map. Like the stuff that you didn't pick up the first time around will still be around. I was pretty thorough, so most of it's gone now. Oh, the shutters are closed. Also, the computers will not have changed. There are no new emails anywhere on the map except in the places I have not yet been, because obviously I couldn't get to them in the first place. Ah yes. There are some new side quests. That's changed. Notice the weights in the corner there this time, too.
Reestablishing security.
Oh. That's new, too.
Mr. Jensen.
But as I was saying, there are some new side quests, and they open up the places that look like I could have gotten into them, except that the interface didn't work. So I literally could not access them. But now I can.
Jensen! You asshole! You cost me my job!
Slow down. What happened?
What happened? They found out I let you into the morgue. That's what happened. They canned me.
Alright, well, to be fair, this is all Jensen's fault for... He could have chosen another way to get inside, so, you know.
Wayne, I'm sorry. You didn't deserve any of this.
Damn right I didn't. That's the second time you screwed me over.
I know. And I want to make it up to you for everything you've been through. Sarif Industries lost a lot of good people in the last 6 months, and we could use someone like you.
Oh, really? You're not saying that just to say it.
Talk to HR. Tell them I recommend you. Corporate security pays more than being a cop, and you won't be stuck behind a desk.
Jeez, yeah. Okay. I need the work, but this better be on the level.
It is. None of this is your fault, so let me make it right.
Yeah. I should sit down, you know? It's been a long week, and then all this crap, but thanks. I mean it. Hey, listen, about earlier, I'm sorry I was steamed, you know? I really appreciate this chance, Adam.
Thank God Mr. Sarif sent some of his security here to watch the building. I'd go up to my apartment, but I actually feel safer down here.
Now that is a little odd.
I don't know how it happened. One second it was a peaceful demonstration near the limb clinic. The next, people are running towards Sarif Plaza grabbing anything they could. This is another black eye for our city.
Receptionist is gone.
Looks like Detroit is burning once again. These people are just looking for any reason to go on a rampage.
God, they should call in the National Guard or something. This is a state of emergency.
Thank God I made it here before the riot started. I wouldn't want to be out on the streets right now.
Cops and burning cars. Alright, now let's hear the news.
Thousands of angry rioters took to the streets in several cities this evening after viewing controversial satellite footage uncovered by Picus. Detroit, Toronto, Mumbai, and Rio de Janeiro all report violent clashes taking place outside the doors of such well-known biotechnology firms as Kusanagi, Isole, and Sarif Industries. The footage sparking the riots appears to show scientists performing crude, torture-like experiments on teams of augmented super soldiers. Just minutes ago, Zhao Yunru, CEO of the Taiyong Medical Corporation, commented on the images.
I want the world to know that we at Taiyong Medical have not and never will condone these experiments. This company prides itself on maintaining a safe environment and an ethical approach to research at all times. We invite critics and members of the UN to tour our facilities firsthand. They will find nothing but order, progress, and moral responsibility.
Looks as if the ball is now firmly in the United Nations court. This is Eliza Kassan reporting to you live from Picus.
Presumably, based on what we found in Picus, the footage was probably completely faked. We might have been even seeing part of it while we were down in the Picus Confidential.
Access granted.
Yeah, that's all old.
Godwin, trust me.
Not only that, but the only reason that there isn't a riot in China underneath Taiyong Medical's building is because China is censoring the news. Presumably they didn't want them to, public to see that footage. Now these guys are supposed to be saying something. Ah, well.
Step away from this area, please. Can't you see there's an arrest in progress?
Yo, mind your own business, man. I ain't got no beef with you.
That guy would be complaining that all he was doing was graffiti and the cops should have, you know, bigger fish to fry on a night like this. Huh. Stepped a little bit too close to the fire, I guess. Alright, well, like I was saying, there was stuff back here the first time, but it's gone because I took it. Hasn't been that long since I was here last.
I told you. I told you. They're breeding soldiers in some sort of lab. Woo! Someone's been to the chop shop. I hope they didn't charge for parts and labor.
But yeah, like what Jensen was saying earlier, it does make sense. I mean, that footage is fake, but there are super soldiers.
Walk away, Og. We Natchez are finally fighting back. Not everyone is taken in by fancy machines and shit. We know it's all about control, Hanser.
Goddamn cops. They started this thing, you know. They brought in a fucking box guard. Man, what's next? Curfew? Martial law?
You know smiling right now? Fucking wringing his slimy hands? That Taggart bastard. I bet he's loving this. If an anti-Arg in Sarah's home city doesn't get him hard, nothing will.
It's interesting how even the punks have different opinions on whether augmentation is good or bad, or who the bad guys in this situation really are.
Who are you? You ain't gonna tell us to get off the street.
Fuck them cops, man.
Yeah, they can't tell us to get off the streets. We own these blocks as much as they do.
They must have locked up all our brothers.
I told you we was living in a police state.
What you need, player? If you ain't got nothing to say, don't be hitting me up.
It's all the Illuminati, man. They're behind this. They control everything. Even you and your stupid augments. You from Sarif? Is it true about the super soldiers? Shit. Look what I'm asking. You look like a damn tank. Maybe the people are right to rebel against this stuff. Too much power in too few hands, man. Never good.
We've been kept down long enough. Seraph, Taggart, they just want to control us, man. I ain't no sheep, you get me? Lazarus says we gotta be heard. Well, they're gonna hear this.
Yeah, but what are they gonna think about it?
Come on, baby. Take me away from all this. Don't you want to rescue me from the streets? All you white boys is the same. Must have got the idea from some crappy movie or something.
Yeah, I don't know. Everybody's acting like they're crazy. Maybe they aren't getting any. You should see down near the convention center. Folks are going nuts.
Baby, there's so much violence on the street tonight. How about we do a little loving? Don't go near the action. The cops are ready to go off at anyone, even a pretty thing like you.
Look at you, all shiny and hard. You're gonna make someone a great blender one day. You want to show me where the on switch is? I know the whole city's falling apart, but maybe I can do something to keep your mind off it. We were told things were gonna get better for Detroit.
This is it, man. The revolution is here. Pick up a plowshare and beat it. It's the start of a new world order. Our world order.
Yeah, good luck with that.
Fucking cops are brutal. They provoked a riot, man. A box guard. What the hell were they thinking? These are civilians, man.
It does seem a bit of an overkill. But yeah, you may have noticed, but the District Roll Baller area, the DRBs are gone. Instead, it's just a bunch of civilians hiding out. Staying out of trouble, staying away from the cops. And actually, you can explore and loot the DRB area at this point if you wanted to. But there's also some other guys hanging out in the sewer down here, too.
We've got some serious police brutality going on here. They're taking out anyone who looks at them sideways.
There's a riot going on, somewhere near the Seraph building. The police have blocked some streets. They're trying to get the situation under control.
Have you seen what's happening at Seraph Plaza? A riot, just in front of the building. I wouldn't go there now if you paid me.
I don't want any trouble. Please, I'm just trying to get home.
Did you see what the cops did? They just stormed in and started hitting people. What happened to protect and serve?
God, they should call in the National Guard or something. This is a state
The
of
whole
emergency.
city's going up in flames. I knew this augmentation stuff was no good. The cops are beating the hell out of anyone who fits a certain profile, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I think I know.
The footage from those news reports looks pretty authentic. It's not surprising. It was only a matter of time before they started using augmentation to build up the army.
Well, yeah, they already have. It's like the Veteran Reclamation Project or something. Zeke was part of that. You remember him? He got augmentations to replace limbs he lost. Oh, hey, you can get through here again. Someone must have fixed the wall since I was here. And yeah, that's something kind of weird. All of the cardboard boxes are back, and all of the walls that you may have busted open are back. It's unusual things to replace when all of the lootables are gone. Alright, but yeah, like I was saying, completely empty here. I guess to account for the idea that you may have just sort of murdered everybody on your way through. Plus, you know, there is a riot going on. They would have things they would want to do in a riot. Alright, let's just head on back to the streets now. Nothing else to do around here. Already taken what I wanted. You can see that they blocked off the street there, but that doesn't stop me. Oh man, they're rounding up a lot of guys.
The streets are under control. There's still some cleanup to do at Sarif Plaza. You're Sarif Security,
What'd
right?
I do?
Well, there's no way you're going in the front of that building.
This is our night, my man. No cops are gonna stand in our way.
Let me go!
We're gonna show the man who really runs this town. The
Nothing but a
people,
bunch
that's
of
who.
hog lovers.
Are you crazy? This is no time for chit-chat. Get away or I call the police.
This is police brutality! Walk away, Og. We Natchez are finally fighting back.
Take a walk, buddy. I'm not interested in what you have to say.
This is an injustice!
Move it along, sir. Do not stay in the streets.
You've got no
I know you
right.
can handle yourself, but there's no reason to provoke these people.
What'd I do?
I ain't seen the footage, but that shit could be doctored easily. These people are probably freaking out for nothing.
You know, what if it's true, man? An army of COG soldiers. Detroit will be a police state in no time. Nazism, man, right here in the U.S. of A.
Stop jumping to conclusions. Don't be a sheep like the rest of this mob. Goaded on by Taggart and his purist cult.
They ain't a cult, man. They just believe in preserving what God gave us.
Apparently they don't care about causing millions of dollars in damage to the city. Bunch of opportunists, if you ask me. Not exactly a great day to be a Detroit citizen. Hope you're not one of these dudes smashing up the city.
What are you? Some advanced robotic cop or something? You ain't got no right to keep us down. We got rights.
Beat it, Og. I want nothing to do with you.
Get away from me, man. Cops are just looking to take down anyone suspicious. And you're suspicious.
Yeah, this whole riot thing, the motivation behind it is kind of weird. Because the concept is true and has been true. It's been well known to be true. But the footage itself is fake.
Jensen, you might want to get off the streets. It's not safe for anyone. Some goddamn desk Louis sent out a box guard into this mess. Can you believe that? God, what a joke.
All this talk of super soldiers is bullshit. Folks are just looking for a reason to destroy shit. I guarantee you, this soldier business is gonna turn out a hoax.
How can any sane people do this? They're out of control.
Never witnessed a mob before. It was so scary.
The streets are under control. There's still some cleanup to do at Sarif Plaza.
You know, I think I left a few beer cans on the streets. I might want to pick those up since I'm not at 200 health.
Listen, I probably don't know any more about this than you do. I heard something about a riot down at Sarif Industries, according to the news.
According to the news, he could walk 2 blocks and find out himself.
Sir, back away. This does not concern you. Son of a bitch could have killed someone with that firebomb.
Hey, man, I didn't do nothing. Shit, I can't go back in. This is my 3rd strike.
Oh man, I missed another conversation. Yeah. Unlike that graffiti artist, that guy was throwing firebombs and was seen doing so.
Sorry, I can't let you into the station at this time.
But one of those hooligans stole my purse!
I understand, ma'am, but you're going to have to wait until tomorrow to file a complaint.
precinct is locked down due to a gas leak.
That's not what I heard. I heard somebody got past security and stole some secret evidence.
You guys can't even keep your own building safe.
If you want to file a complaint, you'll have to wait. Station is blocked off right now. People can believe whatever rumors they want.
Did you see the guy who stole my purse? How are they gonna protect us if they can't even protect their own precinct?
If you need help from the cops, don't bother. They're more worried about the evidence someone stole from them.
Footage from those news reports looks pretty authentic. It's not surprising. It was only a matter of time before they started using up
Jensen, hope you're not here to visit some old friends. The precinct's been shut down, indefinitely. Something about misplaced evidence. About time IA investigates this precinct anyway. That thing with the body 6 months ago? Tip of the iceberg. The brass here's been playing fast and loose with procedures for a long time.
This isn't a good time, sir. We're trying to clear the streets. An og like you walking around is liable to get the mob going again. So be careful.
Stay away from Seraph Plaza. That's ground zero for this riot. It hasn't spread yet, but it could if we're not careful.
So yeah, at least the police are doing their jobs here.
You're Sarah Security, right? Well, there's no way you're going in the front of that building.
Like, the riot is not citywide. I mean, obviously it was worse earlier, but it's gotten better now. That dead body is still... What the hell? There is stuff in that dead body. Creepy. What was I saying? Oh yeah, like the riot has gone down some from where it used to be, but it's still in full swing. Kind of interesting how they're containing it like a fire.
It's just embarrassing, really. Like anyone can walk into the precinct and take whatever they want.
I know. What if this wasn't the first time? Some gang leader out here could have profiles of every cop on the force. They may even know where we live.
As long as the media doesn't get a hold of this. If they do, we're gonna get reamed in public by the mayor. You know how much the commission loves that.
We already got the feds in there, looking at us and shaking their heads like we're a bunch of naughty children.
I wouldn't loiter around here if I were you. There are a lot of pissed off cops around here.
Hey, anybody ever tell you it's rude to eavesdrop? Scram, before I start to get annoyed.
You know, I think I've heard someone say that before. Hasn't stopped me yet, though. But yeah, they were actually pretty thorough about closing off the building here. Like, of all 4 entrances are blocked off, and not only are they blocked off, but they're blocked off using the same little divider thing. It's kind of funny. And we gotta go down here, find the 4th of them. That's around here too. The sewer entrance, I mean. Looks like the electricity's back on. Pretty sure I turned it off. Yeah, I can do so again by coming up here. And yeah, this one's blocked off too, of course. Other than that, doesn't look like there's anybody else down here. Alright then. Let's head back up to the streets. Pick up where I left off. Keep talking to more people. Yeah, I'm pretty sure there were some bums up in this area at least. I guess they don't feel safe down there, or maybe the cops moved them. That could be the case. Anyway, I think I'll check the tram station next.
Out of the way. There's a riot going on. I'm kind of busy.
Yeah, you look busy, buddy.
Sorry, but we've diverted all the trams. There are no more coming to this station.
But how am I supposed to get home?
Best thing to do is get outside the downtown area and catch a tram there.
But it's dangerous out there. The rioters are breaking windows and looting.
Can you at least tell us what lines are operating so we know what station to go to?
I'll try to find out for you.
Unless this is an emergency, I suggest you keep moving. Go home, sir. You can't help here.
I'd be careful if I were you. I've heard the protesters are totally out of control. They think Seraph is breeding super soldiers or something.
Downtown is a war zone. The cops are doing what they can, but the precinct station is closed.
I don't know how it happened. One second it was a peaceful
They should
demonstration.
call in the
and then
National Guard.
The next.
The city's in flames because everyone believes some news story. I'll bet Bill Taggart has something to do with the riots.
I blame this all on that bastard Taggart. Who the hell plans a firebrand speech like that in this city when we all know it's ready to blow? If I didn't know any better, I'd swear this is what he had planned. Jensen, pal, you shouldn't be out here. How'd you get out of that Seraph building anyway? There's no foot access to that place. It's sealed off. You'd have to fly in or something. Just get off the streets if you can, buddy. They'll tear you apart if they get the chance.
They tripped me from behind and stripped me of my purse.
Were there any witnesses?
Yeah, but they refused to stick around to wait for you guys. They were scared for their safety. Maybe if you had come sooner.
I'm sorry, ma'am, but most of the squad has been assigned to subdue the rioters.
It seems like all I'm hearing from police these days are sorries.
Do you have anything else to report, ma'am?
No, thank you. I'm fine. I'm gonna wait for my sister to come pick me up. Meanwhile, I'll lament about the end of the civilized world as we know it.
What is it, sir? There's a riot raging and I'm in the middle of taking this lady's statement. Unless there's an emergency, I suggest you move along.
I blame Bill Taggart and his crew, stirring up all sorts of emotions. It's a shame. They come to town all high and mighty, turning decent people against each other.
I can tell by the way you look. You and I are not gonna be friends. Take a walk, you bucket of bolts.
Whoa! Get away from me, you augmented freak! You look like a cross between the Tin Woodsman and a nest of machine guns.
This is not a good time to talk to anyone from DPD, sir. We have our hands full with this riot.
You know, that is kind of interesting. The Tin Woodsman is a good analogy for full-body cyber augmentation. The one from the book, mind you.
I thought the police overreacted.
Yeah. As soon as that one guy threw the rock, the cops broke their perimeter and charged in.
Why didn't they just send a couple of guys to find the culprit instead of plowing through the crowd?
That's what I was thinking. It just made the situation worse.
Damn cops. Roaming the streets with their strong-arm tactics. I saw a bunch of them beating on a poor guy. Brutal.
They're rioting because of some news reports about experiments on live soldiers. These days, it wouldn't surprise me if the stories are true.
Pretty crazy times, huh? Hopefully the worst is over. I thought the police won't wait. Those are orders from higher up, without a doubt.
Did you manage to see anything? Did you see the guy throw the rock?
All sorts of rioters are running amok down near Seraph Plaza. That's about all I know. Well, that and the cops are beating the hell out of people.
You see what's happening at Seraph Plaza? A riot, just in front of the building.
There's a riot going on somewhere near the Seraph building.
This isn't
Police have blocked some streets. They're trying to get the situation.
Yeah, I think I gathered that.
What a scene.
Gotta be careful jumping up onto this side, but hey, you can get a pretty good view of the plaza from up here. And all of the nobody and nothing that's going on over there.
Blame this all on that bastard Taggart. Who the hell plans a firebrand speech
Keep
like
your
that?
distance,
We all know
sir.
it's gonna
Don't make me arrest you, too.
You fucking augmented pigs! Does Lim give you a discount on neuropozyne?
The joint's finest are a bunch of drug addicts! Arresting innocent civilians for expressing themselves! Say justice, man!
Go tell the owner of the store whose windows you smashed that you're innocent.
Fuck you! Just because you abuse your body doesn't mean you can abuse my rights.
And just because you want to express yourself doesn't mean that you should throw rocks.
With our rights every day! But the fascist dogs is what they are.
You've got no right.
Fuck you looking at?
This is
You're
an
lucky I can't
injustice.
fuck you up right
How
now.
could this be happening?
You can't do this,
Seraph
pig.
building. Anything that's not nailed down, I'm taking with me. Let me go. Seriously, this is an injustice. Dress dance. Please don't bother me.
Stop us.
You've got the wrong person.
Nothing but a bunch of
Hard of hearing. Get away from me.
Walk
This is
away,
an injustice.
We Natchez are finally fighting
Your
back.
fault.
You've got no right.
Someone's been to the chop shop.
You've got the wrong person.
That's kind of interesting. Like, you step into the pen, they get alerted to you.
Unless this is an emergency, I suggest you keep moving. Sir, why are you out on the streets? You only incite these people to prove violence. I should take you in, damn it.
It looks like I can get a better view from on this machine here. Hey, yeah, There's the box guard. Oh, and there's a couple of people running around back there. Huh. So, the 7th cycle begins, and I'm not out of gimmicks yet. Last time it was the foreigner cycle, but this time we'll be getting a woman's perspective on things. That's right, the 7th cycle is the feminist cycle, and I'll be kicking things off today with a cyberpunk corner about a 1994 book, Trouble and Her Friends. About the author. Speculative fiction is an umbrella term that refers to genres like science fiction, fantasy, and alternate history. The idea is that if you can describe the story's setting with a what-if question, it's speculative fiction. What if magic were real? What if the world were a different place? What if it was 20 years in the future and we had full-body cyborgs? What if the Black Plague wiped out over 90% of Europe? That sort of thing. Having a term like speculative fiction is useful because there's often a lot of overlap between the genres. Magic could turn out to be an advanced form of science, a futuristic setting could have some unexplained mystical elements, or maybe the twist is that the planet was Earth all along and the protagonists are actually Adam and Eve. That kind of thing. Still, there are some definite differences between speculative fiction subgenres. Science fiction, for one, tends to be a real boys' club. Might be genetics, might be inclination, or it might be society's fault entirely. But for whatever the reason, it remains true that mathematics and the so-called hard sciences tend to be dominated by men. And this dominance extends to related fields, like computer science, engineering, and also science fiction writing. With fantasy, there's no real gender gap among authors and readers, at least not at this point. But science fiction still tends to lag behind in terms of gender parity. However, there's a big difference between little and none. Some of the biggest names in science fiction, both today and in decades past, belong to women. Ursula K. Le Guin is widely regarded as one of the best speculative fiction authors of all time, and she's written extensively for both the fantasy Earthsea setting and the science fiction Hainish cycle. Margaret Atwood writes science fiction, although she prefers to call it speculative fiction because she defines the genres differently than I just did. Alice Sheldon wrote science fiction back during the 60s and 70s, under the pen name James Tiptree Jr. Hell, Mary Shelley wrote what is arguably one of the first science fiction works ever with Frankenstein. Today's author, Melissa Scott, is one of those relatively rare female authors who prefer writing science fiction to other genres. But that's not all. She's also gay, and the protagonists of her works are very frequently members of the gender and sexual minorities. And that's certainly true about today's book, which adds a few new ideas and perspectives to what's otherwise a fairly standard cyberpunk plot. The story. First of all, I should mention that Trouble and Her Friends takes place in a very early 90s vision of the future. I mean, it's not that privatized extreme future from Snow Crash, but hackers who break into systems are still known as crackers. The World Wide Web doesn't exist, so the internet consists of a bunch of private corporate networks and the BBS, or Bulletin Board System, which is what the web replaced. And also, the AIDS epidemic is still very much front and center as far as the LGBT community is concerned. And yet, despite how much the setting resembles the 90s, it does take place in the future, because communities are facing the effects of global warming and rising ocean levels, the ozone layer has practically vanished, toxic waste spills have made much of the New England coastline uninhabitable, and every serious internet user connects through a spinal implant. The story begins with Trouble having left Cerise, her partner, in more ways than one. The US government has recently passed the Evans-Tyndale Act, which gives the Treasury Department a framework for them to seriously prosecute cybercrimes for the first time. This framework is stricter than the International Amsterdam Conventions, which the US, in typical fashion, refused to sign. This is particularly a problem for Trouble and Cerise because both of them have an implant called the Brainworm. which connects to the brain directly and converts information into smells, tastes, textures, and temperatures, in addition to the sights and sounds you normally get from the regular implant. By adding these extra senses, those who are on the wire have a distinct advantage over ordinary hackers. But you need an extra strong connection to have enough data to use the implant. The operation is risky since it touches the brain directly, and the brainworm has an unfair reputation for being addicting, mostly because old people don't understand it. That last issue is why Evans-Tyndale bans the brainworm, but the fact that it's a risky operation is why it's unpopular with old-school internet users, who naturally think of it as cheating even though that makes no real sense. Trouble and Cerise both have brainworms, as do most of their cracker friends, mostly because their sexual preferences mark them as outcasts anyway, and so they don't have as much of a reputation to lose. It's also why they're all friends IRL, even though net users tend to be antisocial in person. Cerise goes to see them after Evans-Tyndale passes and Trouble leaves, as she had promised to do if the bill passed. The bill will make the internet a more dangerous place for crackers, so Trouble has decided to get out while the getting was good. Cerise decides that she'll lay low for a while too, but first she wants to break into a new corporate net that is packed full of ice. That stands for Intrusion Countermeasures Electronic. After Cerise's decision, the book goes through a 3-year time skip, and now we're following Trouble. Trouble has spent the last few years as a syscop. That's a play on sysop, or system operator, for an artist co-op. But then one of her old cracker friends, Butch Van Lysvelt, shows up at her doorstep. He's come in person to warn her that someone has been breaking into corporate nets using her old programs and claiming to be her, and so the Treasury will be coming after her. Sure enough, a couple Treasury officers show up the next morning, and when the other residents make it clear that they won't support her, Trouble cuts and runs. Chapter 3 switches back to Cerise, who has become the sysadmin of a corporation called Multiplane. Her career decision wasn't exactly by choice. Multiplane was that last big job she was planning, and her attempt on their systems was impressive enough that they recruited her by using proof of her intrusion as blackmail. Still, Cerise has done fairly well in her new job, and the only person she doesn't like is her boss Coin, Multiplane's chief of security. Cerise's chapter begins when new Trouble breaks into Multiplane's systems. Since Cerise knew old Trouble, she realizes right away that this is an imposter. But Coin isn't convinced and worries that Cerise is covering for her old lover. He also seems overly concerned about what new Trouble might have uncovered, but that's just a red herring. As Cerise begins her investigation, Trouble starts to re-establish her online presence to let people know that she's back, and she's pissed off that someone has stolen her name. She also heads back to the city where she used to live and gets back in touch with her old friends, updating her old hardware, software, and implants so that she can track down new Trouble. As she waits on her new equipment, Trouble heads to Sea Haven, the last of the online shadow ports where people can broker illegal jobs and sell stolen information in peace. Trouble heads right up to the man in charge, who is known only as the Mayor, and she has him put up a public message that says she's back and she's looking for her imposter. Afterwards, Trouble speaks to a fence with mob connections and finds out that new Trouble works out of the real Sea Haven, a fictional town on the New Hampshire coastline whose economy consists of black market electronics and a hotel that specializes in confidential corporate meetings. The reason Trouble is getting all this support, by the way, is because new Trouble is bringing way too much heat down on the shadows. Cerise stops by the online Sea Haven and sees the real Trouble's message. She then meets one of her old friends who's dating an Interpol agent, Vess Mabry, and she decides to meet with Mabry since Coin and the Treasury Department are too obsessed with old Trouble to help her. Still, Coin later turns out to be reasonable enough, or desperate enough, to give Cerise free rein to track down Trouble. Cerise then heads back to Sea Haven and leaves Trouble a private protected message warning her that the Treasury is onto her. While she's there, she also meets a rather flirtatious female avatar who goes by Silk and seems to know something about new Trouble. Silk gives Cerise a private online address and then disappears. Trouble gets to the real Sea Haven and rents a room at an old hostel. When she goes online, she finds Cerise's message waiting for her, along with most of the online shadow community. Trouble declares then that she's going to get rid of her imposter, and the community stands aside to let her do so. She also gets a backdoor code in the Multiplane's email system, so she can contact Cerise. She does so and sends her a single word: Sea Haven. Cerise goes to their physical Sea Haven soon after, and she finds Trouble on the local network. The two of them have an awkward reunion thanks to the way Trouble left without a word 3 years ago, but it's pretty clear that they both still have feelings for each other, especially after they meet in person afterwards. They compare notes and decide that new Trouble is probably male and probably young, hence why he keeps causing trouble and then bragging about it. The two of them then go down to the parkade to ask their old black market contacts for help. When Trouble gets back online later, one of her friends warns her that the mayor of Sea Haven is using a pseudonym, Sasquatch, to try and convince people to get rid of her instead of new Trouble. Fortunately, he's not getting much support, but all he needs is one person to give up her current address to the Treasury. Meanwhile, Cerise goes to Silk's private address, gets seduced, and then discovers too late that it was just a hustle. Trouble is back out on the parkade when she gets another warning from Butch. Treasury has found her, and her hostel room is compromised. So she gets in touch with Cerise, who sneaks her out past the Treasury checkpoints. Cerise then cuts a deal with Interpol to get Trouble out of Treasury's jurisdiction. However, the deal with Interpol is conditional on catching new Trouble. But luckily, one of their contacts talks and says new Trouble lives in a wealthy neighborhood. Also, it turns out that Silk might be new Trouble under a different name. Cerise creates a search program to check the public records based on new Trouble's profile, and it takes long enough that she and Trouble have sex while they wait. Mabry shows up with an analysis of some of new Trouble's programs, and the real Trouble realizes that one of them is the mayor of Sea Haven's designs. Mabry knows the mayor's real name, and it lets them find out that he's been paying rent for a young man to live on his own for years. It looks suspicious, but Mabry does mention that Interpol had investigated this connection before and found out it was strictly a mentor-slash-father figure relationship. What they didn't have was a physical address or a link to new Trouble's antics, and that's just what they got. As Interpol goes after new Trouble, real name James Tilson, Cerise and Trouble go online to confront the mayor in virtual Sea Haven. James shows up for a bit before the mayor boots him out, and then the pair manage to burrow through the mayor's legendary ice to reach his personal workspace. Since the mayor never expected anyone to reach it, the space is patterned off his real-life apartment, and so Trouble is able to identify it based on the view from the window. This is especially fortunate since James somehow got spooked before Interpol could arrest him. The Treasury Department and Interpol surround the mayor's apartment, but it turns into a standoff when the mayor threatens to bring down the city's network and melt down a nuclear power plant, although the second part is just a bluff. The mayor says he'll only negotiate if Trouble speaks to him in person, and so Cerise gets the Treasury agent to drop all charges against both of them in exchange for doing so. Of course, turns out the only reason the mayor made that demand was so that he could at least kill Trouble for bringing about his downfall, but Cerise also talked the agent into letting her have a gun and follow Trouble, so yeah, she kills the mayor. Turns out the guy also killed James in a desperate attempt to clean up his mess. Afterwards, Mabry asks Trouble to become the new mayor of virtual Sea Haven. After all, if they simply got rid of it, someone else would just create a different dark site that would be harder to track. So, Trouble takes over and opens Sea Haven to people who work on every side of the law. And since Cerise has rekindled her relationship with Trouble, and she doesn't have to worry about that blackmail anymore, she joins her. The analysis. Let me start with the obvious difference that sets Trouble and her friends apart from all the other cyberpunk works I've covered. And to do that, I'm going to begin with a question. How would Trouble be different if no one was gay and one of the protagonists was a man. Well, the plot outline wouldn't have to change much to accommodate this. The plot is about someone using a retired black hat hacker's name to get away with high-profile jobs, and it's about two lovers reconnecting as they discover they still have chemistry, despite how they separated, and despite how they've changed in the years since. You don't need anyone to be a lesbian to tell that story. However, the characters would have to be completely different. While Trouble and Cerise are not wholly defined by their sex or sexual preference, both of these facts strongly inform how they act and how they are treated by the people around them. The two of them have a strong bond with the other openly gay members of the cracker community because they are all dismissed and ostracized by the straight men who dominate the profession. It's a big part of the reason why Butch, for one, was willing to go so far out of his way to warn Trouble. Also, when Cerise goes to work for Multiplane, the book takes a moment to explain that she dresses provocatively and acts aggressively not simply because that's who she is as a person, but because that's what she has to do for people to actually listen to her. Because if she didn't, if she dressed conservatively and acted professionally, her male co-workers would walk all over her even in spite of her being the boss. Because that's how it goes for women in corporate management. Trouble's sexual preference also plays a role in why the mayor decided to ruin her name and not some other retired hackers. It's because he's a bigot. The mayor assumed that because Trouble was publicly known to be a woman and a lesbian, the rest of the cracker community would be disinclined to believe that she's innocent, or else they would want to get rid of her anyway because she isn't really one of them. She's a political, which is the nicest way he ever puts it. And she cheats because she has a brainworm instead of sticking with the older hardware the way a true cracker would. And presumably, after the feds arrested Trouble, the mayor would have set his protege to start ruining some other old-timer's reputation. Fortunately, however, that's not what happens. Early on, the Black Hat community is willing to hear her out because they do consider her a member, and enough people remember her to know that what New Trouble is doing is not her style. Then, when the mayor gives her up to the Treasury agents, they actively rally behind her and help her locate the person who was trying to ruin her good name. And the mayor didn't see any of this coming because he just assumed everyone was as bigoted as he was. So while the story could be told without any gender or sexual themes, the people the story is about would have to be completely different. And I'd say that's the best approach to have when the conflict isn't specifically about being LGBT. Being a woman and a lesbian are important aspects of Trouble and Cerise's lives, but at the same time, that's not the extent of their personalities. There's also another theme to the novel that has nothing to do with sexual preferences. It's about growing up. Although the book doesn't really explore their backstories, it does imply that both Trouble and Cerise had troubled childhoods, and that this is how they wound up working in the shadows in the first place. And when they're in the shadows, they act like it's them against the world. The daring renegades who crack corporate networks for the challenge of it and who pick fights with anyone who dares say a word against them. But then reality sets in. The Evans-Tyndale Act makes cracking a much riskier profession with much harsher penalties. And so Trouble pulls stakes and leaves, just like she always does when the going gets rough. It's only later that she realizes just how irresponsible it was of her to do that to Cerise, even if she had warned her ahead of time that she'd leave if Evans-Tyndale passed. For her part, Cerise realizes that her actions have consequences after Multiplane traps her into working for them. Later on, when the two of them reconnect with their old friends, they find out that most of them have gone legitimate, gone to prison, or died of AIDS. It's because of this theme of growing up that the situation isn't black and white. Multiplane is a sketchy corporation with secrets to hide, but as far as the story goes, they're just the victim of a hacking attempt. The Treasury Department is guilty of not understanding how this whole internet thing works, and of being too aggressive in their hunt for online lawbreakers. But at the end of the day, they are a law enforcement agency, and all they really want is to keep people and their intellectual property safe. And while the mayor of Sea Haven is widely respected for being the last great holdout protecting the free flow of online information, that doesn't stop him from being a bigoted asshole who is willing to disrupt his own community and sell out one of its members for the sake of some bigger payouts. So, Trouble and Her Friends is about growing up, and about realizing that you and your friends aren't automatically the good guys, and your enemies aren't automatically the bad guys. It's about realizing that things are eventually going to change, and that it's okay to compromise with the future when that change arrives. After all, you can't always get what you want, but if you try sometime, you just might find you can get what you need. Thanks for joining me again today in Cyberpunk Corner, and I hope you'll join me next time when I take a look at a feminist dystopia.